the things that I wanted to start with, given Elon Musk's recent takeover of Twitter, is whether he is a distinct and discrete category of billionaire. How is he different? How is he the same? And how will Elon Musk's position at Twitter alter your position on Twitter?
Well, that remains to be seen. I'm still banned, so that hasn't changed. I mean, he's suggested that he might reinstate Trump. Whether or not that means he'd reinstate me is a matter of question. It isn't obvious to me that the people who run the social media networks know exactly how to regulate them with any degree of utility. You know, I've probably read 100,000 comments online, or maybe more, and I've tried to read them with a psychologist's eye. And there are some things going on online that are, I think, that actually pose a threat to the integrity of the culture itself. The biggest problem that I can see is that the large online platforms allow anonymous troll demons to rampage through society with no cost to themselves. And I can identify these people quite accurately now. This will make a number of the people who are watching and listening uncomfortable because they'll be in the list of people who do this sort of thing. So the first thing is they have an anonymous name. The second thing is the anonymous name usually has something psychologically significant about it in a very negative direction. So it's self-denigrating, or it's demonic, or it's otherwise offensive, and purposefully so. And then the people who are utter cowards, likely to be narcissists and Machiavellians, resentful people sitting in their basement at home, dwelling on their misery and doing everything they can to spew toxicity out into the world. Alone in their bedrooms, they're just isolated people who aren't causing any trouble. But as soon as they multiply themselves millions of times using this incredible, powerful computer technology, they're not even human anymore. In my estimation, they're literally a demonic force. And I mean that in a technical sense, right? You and I aren't exactly you and I in this conversation because we're amplified.
I mean, I understand Jordan Peterson's frustration with anonymous trolls just, making comments and disrupting conversation and essentially being disruptors. But I've heard his solution to this issue, which is essentially de-anonymize people, and I disagree with that. I think anonymity is a good thing. I do think it's a coward way to, have an anonymous account and talk reckless on the internet, but I also think it's important that people have that access to anonymity and privacy, which gives them the opportunity to criticize power structures, which may be corrupt. And I think Jordan Peterson is allowing his emotion to cloud his judgment in this instance.
Hundreds of times or thousands of times or hundreds of thousands of times. And so we're not just human, we're androids in some sense operating in a virtual space. And these online trolls have that power because they have access to an audience that they would never gather by their own merits. They are saying things that are derisive and inflammatory and that would absolutely 100% get them punched if they ever said it in public. Imagine that there's a...
Look, these trolls I'm sure are annoying, especially when you're at the level that he is. It's probably very disruptive to your just normal existence, but he's clearly thinking more emotionally than rationally.
Hierarchy of unconstrained people. And there's a variety of people who are very unconstrained, but in normal social discourse would be able to keep themselves under control because of the controls that are there in normal social discourse. You lift those controls and they just go off. And so that's what we're seeing online. And that has to be stopped. I think the large tech companies should be required to put in know your customer laws. They should ban anonymous accounts, but in this way.
It's very strange to see Jordan Peterson in this context where he's advocating for government regulation and intervention, which is, in my opinion, a folly.
Imagine that you have a section for comments where it's real human beings that are verified, and you have another section underneath that's for anonymous troll demons. And if you want to go visit their hell and see what their resentful minds are spewing into the public landscape, then you can. Otherwise, you stick to the real human beings. And I don't know if Musk and the other people who are running the big social media networks understand the pathology that's associated with this online commentary well enough to control it. So we'll see.
What I'd like to draw your attention to, still sort of within the broad rubric of looking at Musk's acquisition of Twitter and how that may play out and how it may affect you personally. I was myself struck with, I think the tweet that you were banned for was sort of like commenting on Elliot Page. How do we prioritize compassion, kindness, love? And can't this basic palette of principles prevent us from getting into conflict around these ideas?
Well, it isn't obvious to me that love can be reduced to compassion at all, because for a variety of reasons. First of all, I think love is a multidimensional virtue, and there's many other virtues than compassion. Think about it this way, Russell. Imagine that the purest expression of compassion is the love of a mother for a true infant. We could really think about that as true compassion, 100% compassion. And the reason for that is that if you have an infant from birth to, say, 6 months old, nothing the infant does is ever to be questioned. The proper response to the infant is whatever the cause of their distress, you immediately prioritize its reduction. But then as the child starts to develop, and as soon as it becomes capable of its own voluntary movement, as soon as it becomes ambulatory, its nervous system starts to change, of course. But then there are other elements that have to be introduced into the relationship to make it a relationship of proper love. And some of that's judgment, which is often considered antithetical to compassion. And some of it's encouragement. And encouragement has a fair bit of judgment in it, because when you're encouraging someone, you're not exactly being compassionate for who they are. You're doing what you can to facilitate who they could be. And what you're doing constantly when you're encouraging someone is
This is a great point he's making. It's a very great point, right? A lot of people have a very superficial view of what love and compassion is. Telling people comfortable little lies is not a compassionate thing. A compassionate thing is to be willing to tell someone the truth. But anyways, that was the video. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.